Actually, it was very simple, as soon as I got the proof. I suspected my second wife of something I couldn't quite put my finger on. You know that feeling when something is wrong, but you can't quite say what it is. I always thought it was some subconscious part of the brain that collects and analyzes random facts until it finds a pattern, and then tries to tell your functional part that something is wrong. Researchers endlessly debate these things, citing premonitions and female intuition as examples. I have 4 children from my first wife, all of whom are good people with successful careers and stable families. At times, they have been a great help to me. When their mother died, we huddled together like survivors of a plane crash and became even closer. By the time I married Ellen, they were all married or in college. She was almost 11 years younger than me, but we seemed to be kindred spirits. She had the same values, the same goals, and she was very sexy in bed. She wasn't what you would call a beauty, but she was very attractive. At 5 feet 3 inches, 916-697, she was very well built. She had smoky eyes, so brown they were almost black, and a mane of blonde hair that fell to her shoulders. She was very athletic and loved compliments. My children accepted her and tried to find common ground with her, but they never really got close. But they were all adults, and if they didn't love her, they didn't hate her. And as long as I was happy, they were happy. We had been married for about 6 years when I started to feel restless, a nagging feeling that something was wrong. I was 55, she was 44. I caught her in a few small lies, nothing serious, until I put them all together. In the end, I couldn't shake the feeling and went to see my older sister. Melody was an attractive woman in her 30s with an accountant husband and 2 girls who loved seeing their grandfather. She looked like an accountant too, but looks were deceiving, and that fact kept her busy and their bank account full. Mel owned one of the most successful private investigation firms in the Southeast. She had 2 college degrees, one in computers and the other in psychology. She was a walking lie detector, analyzing body language and voice intonations almost unconsciously. That made her very difficult to surprise. She had 5 offices and as many computer experts as detectives on staff. One of her tricks was to hire older former police officers, both men and women, as well as young guys who looked like geeks. Who would pay attention to a geek with a laptop or a grandmother out for her morning walk? Not many, judging by her bank account. I gave her money to start the business, part of the insurance money I received after her mother died. She tried several times to pay me back, but gave up when I threatened to never attend another family event if she didn't stop. She didn't seem shocked when I told her about my concerns. No platitudes like it's probably nothing or maybe you're just imagining things. Just a simple, I'll look into it. And she really did look into it for 2 weeks, before asking me to stop by her office on my way home. I had an office downtown, near hers. I was that dreaded consultant you hire to tell you how to save your company. The sad part of my business is that most of what I told them, they already knew, but they needed someone they could pay an obscene amount of money to tell them with confidence. Sometimes my job was to be the person with the axe. I didn't like it, but most of the people I fired needed to be fired and knew it. Others were completely surprised. She threw the folder on the table when I walked in. Our neighbor, a 34-year-old married father of 2. He was unemployed and spent his time while his wife worked, and the kids were at school, taking the pressure off my wife by doing odd jobs here and there. He and she were captured on my couch, on the washing machine, on our dining table, in an armchair, in the backyard. And in one photo, he was kneeling in front of a children's swing while my dear wife sat in the swing, rocking back and forth on him. What the hell did he have against beds? Mel watched me closely, knowing me well. Don't be stupid, Dad. Just leave her and move on. She can't take anything from you. The prenup took care of that. I know you. I inherited your cunning mind. If you're thinking of doing something, don't do it. It was late, but I thanked her for her advice. She looked me in the eyes and picked up the phone. I'll call Junior. He should know anyway. He's your lawyer, after all. Maybe he can talk you out of whatever you're planning. That led me to my eldest son's office. Mel sent me some photos. I've already started the paperwork. You need to stay calm and let me handle this, please, Dad. Okay, I said calmly. When can you do it? It's Tuesday. I'll file the papers tomorrow, do a couple of favors, and on Friday I'll take her anywhere you want. Are you going home? Yes. I think I can behave myself for 2 days. She hasn't been paying much attention to me lately, so she won't notice anything. He stood up when I got up to leave and put his hand on mine. Don't do it, Dad. Don't do what? Whatever you're planning, I can see it in your eyes. I assured him I wasn't going to do anything stupid. Later, I found out that before I even got to my car, he called his friend, one of the most successful lawyers in the state. Dave, keep your schedule open. I may need you soon. I was right. She didn't notice a thing. I had a few days off between jobs, so I decided to check in on my younger son. He was in the utility room, but when he heard the doorbell, he came out with a smirk on his face. Hey, Dad. How's it going? Before you answer, I already know. Junior and Mel called me last night. I thought you might stop by. What can I get you? He was my wild child, covered in tattoos and piercings. He had never been in trouble in his entire life. He inherited his mother's wicked sense of humor and my sense of right and wrong. He could have studied anything in college, but he became fascinated with guns and turned it into a very profitable business. I treated him the same as my other children and gave him some startup capital. He was a master gunsmith with an almost cult following. He specialized in weapons for special forces, customizing and refining their guns. He guaranteed their sniper rifles would hit their target at 350 yards. You could cover the first 3 shots with a quarter and the next 3 with a 50-cent piece. If you could hold the rifle steady, you could hit it. He did all the work for the 3 largest cities in the county, as well as most of the work for the local SWAT and FBI. He also had a very profitable gun shop and a supply line for police equipment. Thanks to him, I had a lot of guns, and my family and I often shot together on my 20 acres of land in the county, which we had turned into a shooting range. He sighted in all his guns there. He was married, which I never thought would happen. She owned her own tattoo parlor, was very talented, and her work was regularly featured in magazines. It was love at first sight. I really liked her. I grabbed a few new things he showed me. You never know when they might come in handy. On the way home, my youngest daughter, a nurse practitioner and partner in her office, called me. I heard, Dad. Are you okay? Do you need anything? You're not going to do anything stupid, are you? I smiled. I imagined her frowning, holding the phone, her reading glasses perched on her nose. Don't worry, kid. You think I'm going to screw up and miss the birth of my new grandchild? No way. I could use a sleeping pill, though. I haven't been able to sleep for the last few days. I got the prescription from her right after her mother died, when I couldn't sleep from grief. I didn't take them for long. They were very strong. Over the years, especially when I was working on a business that I knew wouldn't survive, I would get stressed out. She would only write me a week's supply, and sometimes she would just give me samples. After warning me again, she promised to call the pharmacy and write a prescription. On Thursday evening, I sat down to a nice dinner with my wife. We had a lovely conversation. If I hadn't already known, it would have been hard to believe what she was doing. I opened a bottle of wine from a local vineyard that I knew she loved. I had bought it that day. I poured her a glass while we relaxed after dinner. I didn't like wine, and she knew that, so she wasn't surprised when I opened a beer. When her glass was empty, I poured her another and took my second beer. About halfway through the second glass, she nodded off. I took the glass from her hands. You look like you want to sleep, honey. Why don't you lie down on the couch and relax? I'll turn on some music and clean up the kitchen. She mumbled something that sounded like, thank you, and fell asleep. After cleaning up the kitchen, I made 2 phone calls. The first one was a right now. The second one took a little longer. "Sandy, how are you?" "Good. Has Barry found a job yet?" "Well, I might have something for him. I'm meeting a guy from the factory who's supposed to supervise the second shift. Why doesn't he go with me? They really need a night operations manager there. The salary's around 40. Do you think he'd be interested?" "Great. Tell him to come by in 30 minutes. I made a note to throw the phone away as soon as possible and went outside to wait. I had a mid-90s GMC pickup truck that I hardly ever drove. It came with a slimline cover, which I immediately removed. What's the point of a pickup truck if you can't use it to transport things? Earlier that day, I had put it back on. A few minutes later, Barry approached me. He thanked me for my help and told me how much he and his wife liked us. "No problem, Barry. That's what neighbors are for. Before we leave, could you check that I've tightened the bolts on this thing properly? My car's in the shop, and she hates it when I drive hers. I wouldn't want this thing to fly off while we're on the road." I lifted the cover and lowered the rear door. He leaned over to check the bolts when I hit him with the stun gun. He jerked, made a sound like a sigh, and went out like a light. I shoved him inside, closed the rear door and the cover, and drove off. I drove for about 5 minutes before stopping in a secluded spot. He was just coming to when I hit him again with the stun gun, this time taking the opportunity to put handcuffs and leg restraints on him. I drove to our shooting range. It took about 30 minutes, 10 minutes on a dirt road so overgrown it resembled a goat trail. Perhaps I was driving too fast, hitting the bumps. It was probably my anger. I unlocked the gate and drove through. As I closed it again, I could hear him screaming and thrashing around. I made a mental note not to forget the gag on the way back. I drove out onto the training ground. Damn, I had no idea how bumpy the road was, but then again, I had never driven on it so fast before. He started screaming as soon as I opened the back door. Grabbing him by his leg restraints, I pulled him out. He fell to the ground with a crash. He opened his mouth to complain, and I shoved the barrel of my Judge into it. If you don't know, a Judge is a revolver capable of firing 45 or 4 rounds of 10-shot buckshot. He fell silent. "Listen here, you idiot. I'm going to let you stand up. You're going to walk over to that bench and sit down on it. Don't move or speak until I tell you to. Do you understand?" He nodded his head as best he could with the barrel in his mouth. I may have broken a tooth when I pulled it out, but I wasn't sure. If I did, he didn't complain. He couldn't keep his balance, and I lost my patience, so I made him crawl forward, encouraging him by kicking him in the rear from time to time. I also encouraged him verbally. "That's a Judge revolver, just so you know. I loaded it with 4 shotgun shells, 10 pellets each, number 4. That's about the same size as a BB, maybe a little bigger, 4.5 millimeters. It won't kill you if I don't hit you right, but it'll hurt like hell. If I put it in you, you'll bleed to death even if I don't hit anything serious. You with me, Barry?" He nodded, tears streaming down his face. I sat him down on a bench and immobilized him with 90-centimeter straps. He tried to scream, but I put a gag in his mouth and tightened it. I got it from my sister-in-law, who sold sex toys as a side job to pay for her tattoo. This led to many interesting conversations over dinner, and my daughters and daughters-in-law would get together with a few select friends every 3 or 4 months to look at the new arrivals. It always made for very happy husbands. Pulling up a chair, I sat down opposite him. In the light of the full moon, I could see the traces of his tears. "Do you know why we're here, Barry?" He shook his head. "Come on, Barry, you're smarter than that. What could possibly cause a good guy like me to do this to someone? Think, Bar, think. Sometimes it's because of a serious emotional trauma. What kind of trauma could cause a person to snap? The death of a child, the loss of a job, abandoned loved ones. Oh, I know. What about infidelity? Many men have been driven to extremes by their wives' betrayal. Many seek revenge, pain and sorrow for everyone involved. And the collateral damage, divorce, loss of children, it all gets uglier and uglier. Isn't that right, Barry? Any comments? Right? Nothing. I stopped and laughed. "Oops, I'm stupid, let me help you. I ripped out the gag, tearing off a small piece of scalp. There, now we can talk like civilized people. Your turn, Barry. I've monopolized the conversation long enough, haven't I? Speak, you bastard. I practically shouted the last part at him. He was sobbing. I'm sorry, I really am, but she came on to me and I... A slap rang out in the night. Did it matter who came on to whom? Did the fact that she came on to you make her any less married? And you? Either one of you could have done the right thing and walked away. But you didn't, did you? Do you think what I'm about to put you through is worth some old married woman? He cried, almost incoherently. I shone the flashlight in his eyes. Here's what got you, Barry. It's a fully functional flashlight with a built-in stun gun. You just jab it into someone and the prongs pop out and shock them. It burns like a bitch, at least that's what I've heard. My youngest son gave it to me. Standing up, I walked around him, checking his bonds. I stopped in front of him and took a bag from the seat of the truck. I have a few toys we can play with, Barry. It'll be fun, won't it? Look at this. I took out a pair of heavy-duty scissors and poked him with them several times. He got scared when I started cutting his pants. He squirmed until I reminded him that if he didn't stay still, there could be an accident. Throwing his pants aside, I looked at him. Damn it, Barry. I was expecting more. It's hard to believe that this little thing is causing you so much grief. Did I mention that my eldest daughter owns a private investigation company? I hear it's pretty good. I picked up a stack of papers, shook my head. Barry, Mrs. Oliver, she's probably 60 or more, and Mrs. Grant, she's no more than 25 and she weighs at least 250 pounds, 113 kilograms. You don't do your research very well, do you? And Mrs. Jeffries? I thought you hated black people. It's nice to see you've overcome your prejudices. Her husband is probably 6'3". I bet he weighs about 300, 136 kilograms. Amazing. I thought prison guards would be more fit. You were a busy boy in this neighborhood, weren't you? Got anything left for your lovely wife? Remember her? The one who gave birth to your 2 children? The one who works overtime to support your pathetic ass? I bet her heart will break when she sees these photos, won't it? He struggled and groaned. I patted him on the head fatherly. Don't worry, Barry. I'll make sure she has a shoulder to cry on. I'll help her and the kids any way I can. Hell, when you lose your house, I might even let her and the kids move in with me. You do know that Mrs. Oliver's son is the vice president in charge of mortgages at your bank, don't you? You two didn't get along in school, if I remember correctly. I'll comfort her as best I can. Maybe she'll be really grateful to me. My roof may be covered in snow, but thank God there's still a fire in my stove. I love children, so we'll all win. Hell, I might even adopt them. You wouldn't mind, would you? He slumped down. I patted him on the cheeks a couple of times, then slapped him. He recoiled. Okay, I was afraid you were dozing off. Don't relax, we have a lot to do. I'm going to give you a few options, Barry. I want you to think about them carefully. When I'm done, I'll give you a minute to decide. But Barry, I want your answer before we leave. Understand? Okay. I reached into my bag and pulled out something with handles like pliers, but with 3 prongs in front. Can you guess what this is? It's a bull band. It's a castration device. You take this. I held out a rubber band 1/2 inch wide and about 1 inch long, and put it on like this. I put the rubber band on the 3 prongs and squeezed the handle. The brackets immediately spread the rubber band apart, about 4 inches, 102 millimeters. You grab the calf by the scrotum and put it on. When you let go of the handle, the band snaps and squeezes the scrotum. It should be very painful for the first hour or so, then the calf goes numb. After 3 days, the testicles no longer function. After a 1.5 to 2 weeks, the scrotum falls off. Quickly, almost painlessly, non-invasively, perfectly. Did I mention that my youngest daughter's husband and his father own a meat farm? There was horror in his eyes. I handed him the bottle of pills. I got these from my youngest daughter, too. Actually, they're for animals, specifically for overexcited male dogs in shelters. One pill makes a dog impotent for a week. 2 at a time work for about a month. 3 or more at a time, and the effect is irreversible. I think with your weight, I'll have to give you 6. His sobs grew louder and louder. I lifted his head and showed him some drawings and something that looked like a gun. One of my daughters-in-law gave it to me. It's a tattoo gun. See these drawings? All I have to do is hold it up to you and trace the lines. Do you prefer blue or black ink? I had the truck's headlights on so he could see the drawings clearly. I handed him one. That's my favorite. I have another one that says, I love sex, and I'm going to put it on my forehead. Do you think that will make you popular with the ladies? I leaned back in my chair and sighed. Well, Barry, take your pick. If you don't choose, I'll probably do them all. Oops, I forgot something. I handed him more papers. My eldest son is a lawyer. These are claims for alienation of affection, legal in this state. One from me, one from Mr. Jeffries, and one from Mr. Grant. Mrs. Oliver is a widow, but she is listed as a witness. You can choose one of them if you want. I'll go have a beer while you think about it. I'd offer you one, but you need a clear head. I'll be back in a while, and it'd be best if you had an answer for me. I went out into the darkness, found a log, and listened to the night. An owl hooted nearby. Coyotes howled on the hill. Tree frogs croaked on the damp ground, singing to the night. Everything was quiet. When I returned, he was exhausted, apparently from crying. I shook him roughly. What are we going to do, Barry? Personally, I have a couple of favorites. I hope you refuse to choose just one so I can have a little fun. He begged and pleaded. I yawned. Time's up, Barry. I'm going to enjoy this, and you might not. I picked up the banders. I don't think it'll hurt for long. Let me know, okay? Want to watch? Well, maybe it's for the best. Taking the leather mask out of my bag, I secured it over his head, leaving only his nose exposed. I replaced the castrating tape with regular heavy-duty rubber tape. I heard him cry out when it snapped into place. It would be uncomfortable, but it wouldn't cause any long-term damage if removed within 24 hours. I took out the bottle of pills. They were estrogen pills left over from the hormone replacement therapy my soon-to-be ex-wife was supposed to undergo to make her skin look younger. The worst they could do was make his breasts sore for a day or two and possibly exacerbate his mood swings. I grabbed a bottle of water and put 5 pills in my hand. Unzipping the mask, I pinched his nose shut. He opened his mouth to scream, and I shoved the pills in and poured the water down his throat. He choked and coughed, but eventually swallowed. I was humming to myself when I heard a voice from the darkness. Enough, Dad. I think you've made your point. We'll take care of this ourselves. All 4 of my children came out into the light, along with one son-in-law and one daughter-in-law. How did you find out? I asked in surprise. Mel laughed. You're so predictable. I've been watching you from the beginning. I wanted to stop you earlier, but they talked me out of it. They wanted to let you have some fun. You're a terrible person, you know that? Go home, you have other problems. We have ours. I bowed to their wisdom and left. Afterward. I called Sandy right after I finished with Barry and told her I couldn't wait any longer and had to leave. I actually had an appointment, but I was late and called to cancel. She didn't know where he might be. He came home 4 hours later, brought in by the police. He claimed he had been forced into a car, robbed, beaten, and left on the side of the road. As it turned out, the police were convinced it was a disgruntled husband or group of husbands. I had a hastily made alibi which the police readily believed. My wife was in a daze and couldn't say exactly when I had come home. I will never forget her scream the next morning when she went to take a shower. Her hair had been shaved off, and in its place was an elaborate tattoo with the proud inscription, Barry's Slut. It wasn't a real tattoo, but one drawn with ink that tattoo artists were experimenting with. It was guaranteed to last 3 months. It was used for people who weren't sure they wanted a real tattoo. If they changed their minds, the ink would wash off and there would be no harm done. My sister-in-law was above suspicion. She and the rest of the family had been seen by numerous witnesses dining at a local diner. Hypothetically, it could have been done by a fellow artist who was moving out of town and could use the extra money. Just a wild guess. While she was screaming, I was already getting ready to go on vacation, leaving the photos and a no-fault divorce statement on the dining room table, along with a note. Sign this, and I'll help you find an apartment and pay your expenses for 3 months while you look for a job, or don't sign it, and I'll leave you to fend for yourself after a public divorce. She signed it. For a while, she lived on the other side of town, and then she met and married a man 4 years younger than her. Apparently, she didn't like the idea of an older man. Right after the ceremony, they moved to Alaska. I laughed when I found out she hates cold weather. I never asked her why she decided to cheat on me, and I never spoke to her again. The lawyers settled everything. Photos appeared in various mailboxes in the neighborhood. Sandy kicked Barry out, and he left for parts unknown, ahead of Mr. Jeffries and Mr. Grant. When the dust settled, I asked Mel to track him down so I could serve him with divorce papers and collect child support. I heard that he was having a hard time paying the amount he owed and living a decent life. But as long as he paid, no one cared. I unofficially took Sandy in as another child, effectively giving her a shoulder to cry on. After talking to Mr. Oliver, I managed to get her mortgage terms revised. He was very responsive, so much so that 11 months later I let the boys stay with me while they went on their honeymoon. His wedding gift to her was a paid-off mortgage on the house. 2 years later, the boys had a little sister. Mr. Jeffries divorced his wife, as did Mr. Grant. Mrs. Jeffries moved across town and spent the next 3 years trying to reconcile. Finally, he started talking to her, and she moved back to our neighborhood. They are still not married. Mrs. Grant had nowhere to go. She was from another state. I saw her walking down the road with a single suitcase, crying. I felt responsible, so I took her home and put her up in a spare bedroom. She took over the housekeeping and kept it in immaculate condition. It turned out she had a good head for business, so now she runs the home office. I bought us a gym membership, and while I was getting in shape, she lost over 100 pounds, 45 kilograms. She became very attractive, and men swarmed around her until she made it clear that she wasn't looking for another partner and that she was perfectly happy with the one she had. After she lost the first 50 pounds, she surprised me by waking me up in the middle of the night by jumping on the bed. I think she passed, she said. Passed? What are you talking about? It took me a second to realize she was naked. Weight test. I've wanted to do this for a long time, but I was afraid the bed wouldn't hold both of us. Now move over. I always sleep on the right. She still does. My children thought it was a rebellion when she announced at Thanksgiving dinner that we were going to start a family. I tried to talk her out of it, but she said I was about 6 weeks too late. I did the right thing and married her. All 4 of my children talked to her at length about my views on fidelity. I think that may have scared her. As it turned out, her husband had been cheating on her, and she was doing it with Barry purely out of revenge. Unfortunately, thanks to me, he had proof, and she didn't. Our daughter was born about 3 days before my 5th grandchild. I was 10 days shy of my 58th birthday. I decided I would be 80 when she graduated from college. Recently, the kids threw a Halloween party and insisted we come. It was a horror-themed party. I had a fake axe and a hockey mask. My beloved wife dressed up as Elvira, and she had the body to go with it. The only thing scary about it was how sexy she looked. My sister-in-law, who is a tattoo artist, was dressed in a 3-piece suit and carrying a briefcase. The other kids wanted to know who she was. I'm my father-in-law. He's the scariest man I've ever met. She won first prize for her costume.